Good morning to everyone. I'm very happy to be here, and the first thing I want all of you to think about is two words: inspiration or comparison. And today my talk is going to be on inspiration versus comparison. And why I'm using the word comparison, because today we are in an age of social media where there's a lot of information overload, necessary and unnecessary. So we tend to start comparing ourselves. So comparison becomes a part of our life. At the same time, I would like to talk about inspiration. It was exactly 40 years back, probably I was your age, the average age of the audience sitting here today, in 1984, when I had the good opportunity of traveling to the United States for the first time in my life, thanks to my grandfather, the founder of one of the largest educational societies in the state of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. He had taken me for a business trip, and I was in my third year of engineering, and I actually bunked college and went with him. And after he finished his business commitments, he took me to one of the topmost universities in the world. The university is called Carnegie Mellon University. So I was wondering, why did he take me there? Because a 20-year-old going to the US for the first time would like to go to other places. And then he took me around, and we walked around the university for half a day. And then he was telling me about the genesis of Carnegie Mellon University and who the founder was. A great industrialist, probably one of the greatest we have ever known, person by name Andrew Carnegie, and how he created the biggest steel factory in the world. And later on, he sold all his businesses and put that money into education and community well-being. One of the many initiatives was Carnegie Mellon University, and the other big initiative was the establishment of the community library system in the United States. You go to any town in the US, you go to any village, you find a free community library, very well stocked, and it's totally free for the community. This was a brainchild of Andrew Carnegie. Then, when we got into the taxi to go back to Pittsburgh Airport, he made a statement. Of course, he told this to me in Telugu. He told me that if we get an opportunity, we should also do something like this in our country, our state, and preferably the area we come from. So that was the first time I knew what was in his mind. Now, let me take you back more than 80 years back. British India, late 1930s, a young boy who grew up in a small village in rural Andhra Pradesh, good at studies, and he wanted to continue his studies after his 10th class. Now his father told him, enough of studies, come and work in the family fields. But this young lad wanted to study further, and he saw that his father was not supporting him, and that's when he approached his mother. And his mother said, go ahead and study wherever you want, we will support you. And the story is that she pledged her jewelry with the Imperial Bank, which is today we know that as State Bank of India. And she said, you go and study whatever you want. Those days, Andhra Pradesh was part of the Madras state. There was only one engineering college, and he wanted to do engineering. And he applied to this college in Madras, which today we know as Chennai, and he didn't get admitted there. But he didn't lose hope. He was guided by someone else who told him, please apply to the Benares Hindu University, and there are a lot of seats available there. So he applied to Benares Hindu University, and he got admitted in the BSc Chemical Technology program. He took 3 trains from his village. He didn't know a word of Hindi, a word of English, except Telugu. He went there, and he took part in that course. Very hardworking, very diligent. He completed his course, and one of his teachers motivated him to join the cement industry, because at that point of time, cement was in short supply in this country. It was always imported. And he took up a job in a cement plant which today is located in Bangladesh, because this was much before independence. Now, many of you may not know that Bangladesh, Pakistan, India were all part of the subcontinent once upon a time. And when Bangladesh wanted to separate as East Pakistan, there was a lot of trouble there, a lot of agitation. And this young boy joined this factory for a specific job, and he was working as a shift engineer there. But he thought differently, and he said, I'm free in the evening after I come back from my work. Could I also work in other departments? The plant in charge was an Englishman, and he said, why not? I don't have to pay anything extra, and let him get trained. This went on for a couple of years, and in those 2 years, he became an expert in all sections of the cement plant, not only technical, but in finance, HR, production, costing, you name it, he became very well versed. Now, fate was that before the partition, there were a lot of agitations, a lot of buns, a lot of trouble in the plant, and most of the employees quit, but he didn't quit. And the British administration appointed him as the works manager. That was the first turning point in his life. From a regular shift engineer, he became in charge of the entire cement plant. This happened because he took that extra initiative, and he was also a good multitasker. Then there was no looking back. He later on went on to become the chief engineer of the Ceylon government. Today we call Ceylon as Sri Lanka, looking after cement, paper, and other industries. He entered the private sector, and I think the icing on the cake was when he became the chairman of the Cement Corporation of India, a public sector undertaking, which was very loss-making. But during his tenure, he turned it around and made it profitable. In recognizing his services, the government of India conferred on him a Padma Shri. All this was in pre-independent India, the story which I'm telling, and then post-independence. After he retired, at the age of 57, 58 those days, a lot of people from his area told him, why don't you set up a cement plant? He didn't have the capital for that, because he was a professional. And you'll be surprised, money came from 23 villages in the Godavari districts. And that's how the first cement plant was started by a local entrepreneur in the state of Andhra Pradesh. Within 18 months, it became the most profitable factory in India. In fact, he was featured on the Business World in 1984. And there was no looking back. He set up a number of factories. But I think education was always at the back of his mind. It was also on the back of his mind that his mother supported him, and that's why he is what he is. And I think the seed was that he wanted to do something for women. Now, I would not have known any of this if I had not gone with him in 1984 to the US. Even though he was my mentor, and he was the one who actually brought me up along with my grandmother, because my parents were in UK for about 15 years. So it was my grandparents who brought me up. Now, when he wanted to start these institutions, a lot of people told him, why don't you do it in a big city? You'll get good students, you'll get good faculty. But he was very clear. And he said, I want to do it in my area. I want to do it in a rural area. I want to do it in my village. And I want to do something for women. So he went against the convention because a lot of his well-wishers told him, will so many girls join? Will faculty come there? There is no airport there. Where will you get faculty and guest faculty? But he was very clear. And I think when I observed his life, there are some things which I think inspired me, and I think that's what I want to share with you today. One, his mindset was very flexible. Because if he was not flexible, he would not have worked in different departments of a cement plant when his primary responsibility only was as a shift engineer. So that flexible mindset, that positive bent of mind, and more importantly, I think it's the power of intention. Because that intention, I think, was with him very early on when his mother supported him. Who knew that 50, 60 years later, he'll set up some fantastic institutions in his native place? Now, these are the lessons I learned. And it so happened in 2002, after he passed away, it's not that I'm the only family member, I'm the third generation. The second generation and the rest of the third generation were not interested. They said, why don't you start industries? Why do you want to get into education? There again, I think it's that 1984 meet I had with him, that one day in US, which actually I could read his mind. And I said, I'm with you, without knowing anything about education. And a lot of people discouraged me also, because I was just starting my career. I was in my mid-30s. I had just started my own cement plant. People were all expanding, acquiring. And me, on the other hand, was struggling with the cement plant and also looking at these fledgling institutions, not only in our native place, but also in the rural part of Telangana. But I consider that a blessing. And if you recall, I said you need to have a flexible mindset. You need to have a positive outlook. And you should not compare. So I never compared myself with other industrialists. And the inspiration I took, and that inspiration actually made me actually focus fully on these institutions. Now, where did my inspiration come from? Obviously, one from my grandfather, the founder. But then, a lot of people told me, you're in a very rural part of India. How will you run the institutions? So what did I do? I visited few wonderful places, all in rural parts of India. I went to Tamil Nadu. I went to a place called Madurai. And that's when I spent some time studying the world's largest eye hospital. Many people don't know in India that the largest eye hospital in the world is located in a tier 2 or tier 3 town in India. And last year they did about 7 lakh surgeries, cataract surgeries, 60% free of cost. Some wonderful innovation I saw there. The second place I went was the first college town in South India, or maybe in India itself, in Karnataka. There again, it was a very small, rural, hilly tract, which a great visionary transformed into one of the most vibrant college towns in a span of 50 to 60 years. I went and spent a couple of days there to get inspiration. The third place I went was in rural Kerala. Not many people know that the largest dental laboratory in Asia is located in a small town about 2 hours from Cochin. It's probably the second or third largest in the world. Again, I went there for inspiration. So when today people tell me that your society is very successful despite being in a small town, I proudly say that we are successful because we are in a small town, not in a tier 1 city. Because I think small towns have that character, they have that loyalty, you have a good team of people, and there's a lot of hunger here. So, friends, why I'm telling you all this is that you also have a lot of choices to make. And don't get carried away, don't compare yourselves, look for inspiration. And that's what I did. Now, it's very easy for me to tell you all this, but how did we make the society successful? And how did we carry on the founder's dream? I'll just illustrate this with 2 or 3 examples so that it gives you some kind of an inspiration. I remember the last project he was working on was the dental college here. There again, this was in 2001, where Andhra Pradesh did not have any private dental colleges. Now, to set up a dental college, you also need faculty. And if you follow the DCI rules, the Dental Council of India rules, we were not having so many faculty to recruit. So a lot of people discouraged him. A, why are you starting this college? B, why in that location? But he was very clear. Unfortunately, he passed away when the college was under construction. And so I had to take it up. Now I'm totally clueless. I'm an engineer by profession and by training. I don't know anything about medicine, even though my father is a doctor. So I also had to get inspiration to go and see some good dental colleges. And then I understood that we can do something differently. And the inspiration I got from visiting this eye hospital in Madurai, which is probably one of the most successful case studies being studied by Harvard Business School for the last 40 years, sort of gave me an idea, why can't we do something in the field of dentistry? And today, dear friends, very proud to tell you that we're running a chain of 44 rural dental clinics in the state of Andhra Pradesh, and more recently we've entered Karnataka. We took a conscious decision not to go to towns or cities, but in villages where the population is less than 10,000. Now, what has happened? A lot of people again opposed us, saying that no college is doing it. But here again, it's the inspiration which actually helped me, and not the comparison with other colleges. And today, dear friends, if you look at last year, the total number of patients we treated was about 60,000 in those rural clinics, an equal number in our main hospital, all collected by teledentistry. Now, we didn't expect other benefits to come out of it. Today, our students are extremely happy because they get real-world experience. They go and work in those clinics post their graduation before they move on in life. Because working in a rural clinic is totally different from a protected environment of working in a college. And we have found many successful cases of students working in those clinics, going abroad or setting up clinics. And the impact has come on our admissions, where you have the best of the NEET rankers and excellent NIRF ranking we have. So that's one example, dear friends, I would like to quote. If you think positively, if you get inspiration, you have a flexible mindset, you can do it. It's not something which everyone has done. The second example, being in a rural area, our engineering students. And today we have an all-women's engineering college. How do we actually get the skills which are required when you're not located in a city like Hyderabad or Bangalore, especially in software engineering? And that's when we launched this Women in Software Engineering initiative, where a lot of mentoring took place from the top companies coming to Bhimavaram. That was a game changer for the engineering college. The third initiative is in the core engineering, because there's a perception that even if a student is interested or not, the peers, the parents, the public tells them, don't join core engineering. That's not meant for girls. It is only meant for boys. But we proved everyone wrong. There again, it was a different thought process. Again, the power of intention, where we started the vehicle design lab. And today, you go to any automotive company in India, you will find our alumni in extremely good positions there. I think these are the three examples I would like to quote, very simple examples which can actually connect with you. And the story which I would like to tell you is, part one was Dr. P.V. Raju. Part two is what we are doing now. And the connection was that 1984 meet. Even though he brought me up, that was a turning point where I read his mind. And the fact that I'm able to talk to an auditorium filled with girls, I think the dream is mostly fulfilled, but we still have a very long way to go. So thank you, and I hope you'll get inspired and you'll have less of comparison. Thank you very much.